we cannot be able to make those sacrifices. But Solomon did. And Solomon went up thither, and he raised an altar before the Lord and offered 1,000 burnt offering upon it. In that night did God appear unto him. We have to make sacrifice. When people are standing praying, they're asking God, Father Lord, I want you to bless me with the fruit of the womb. Yes. Have you made sacrifice for that? What have you told God to bless you with that? Some people, when you see Solomon, just one offering. People come to church. For them to give offering is difficult. But they will buy a cloth, very expensive, to wear on their skin, but they cannot make sacrifice for his house of God. If you are afraid to give money in the house of God, buy something. See what Solomon did. That night, God appeared to him because of the sacrifice, offering, thousands burnt offering upon it. He was not afraid. You see some people who get up and make sacrifice in the house of God and just give. So we are going to look, in that night God appeared. We are going to look at 2 Chronicles 1:6-7. Also 7, 4, and 5. What the Bible recorded about Solomon. And King Solomon offered a sacrifice of 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. And what was the response? And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said unto him, I have heard thy prayer, and I have chosen this place to myself for an house of sacrifice. 2 Chronicles 7:12. How many of us are making sacrifice with the things of God? We prayed, God cannot answer us. You stand and say, Father Lord, bless me with this, and just move on. We have to show God that the things that we are doing is not ordinary things. The things of God is spiritual. If we don't know that, when you want God to answer, you do something crazily. Don't be afraid. Just stand and say, you know what? I am just going to bless this entire ministry. Then you will see what God will do. For us to stand like this, to be a minister, to be a church where I am, it's not about the crowd. It's what is spoken from that ministry. You don't want to have a mega church wherein thousands of people are coming, but there is no sacrifice. You don't want to have thousands of people coming. There is so much fighting. If even you have 2 or 3 dedicated people in the sight of God, they are making sacrifice to come every day. It's a ministry. He said, where 2 or 3 gather in my name, I'm always there. I do not look at crowd. I look at people that make time and sacrifice to come to the house of God. You can have 10,000 people. They only come there Sunday to receive blessing. Other days, when you times of Bible study, you see one person. When in times of prayer meeting, you see one person. In times of other days, you see one person. But you have some people that can make sacrifice to just come in the house of God. This is what I look at. I am looking at sacrifice that people will make. How many of us are making the sacrifice to come in the house of God? How many of us are making sacrifice to do something in the house of God? It's difficult to see people to do things in the house of God. You will see somebody go out there and buy something very expensive, but they're scared to do things in the house of God. God can answer prayer so fast when you decide to do sacrifice. When you look at some people, their life, they will tell you, all my life is sacrifice in the house of God. Because when you do in the house of God, you will not go dry. You will not go hunger. You will not go weary. Everything in your life will be perfect. Because God look at that. When Solomon did, you see God appear immediately to him. You do something crazy in the house of God, just go there and say, you know what? I'm going to bless this ministry an entire month. You will see how God will just make things open to you. He said this place of sacrifice is usually God choosing. Whatever sacrifice is offered, God is attracted. The altar of sacrifice is a permanent God's dwelling place. God can say no to sacrifice, especially when it is offered with a pure heart. It is a small that attracts him at this time. Once you are doing sacrifice, if Solomon was doing that sacrifice, not with his heart, maybe he will say to himself, I am going to give God this, but not with his heart. It cannot attract God. Sacrifice attract God when you do it with your heart. Do it with your heart. It can be little, but do it with your heart. People don't make sacrifice for the things of God. I see the war. This is end time we are in. Do craziness for God. Give your time to God. It's not an easy thing to start the journey of the things of God. When I started this, I thought it's just like drinking water. It was not easy for me. I have to do every Thursday, I have to do prayer meeting because the devil is at work. Devil want to see how far you will go with this. When I had the calling, I told myself, no, this is not something that I am ready for, because I have so many things that I was thinking that I have to go to work, I have to look for this money, I have to do all these things. God said, no, you can get all those when you make time for me. I can bless you with all those that you want when you make time. I look at the time that I'll be to work. I look at the time that I want money. I'm thinking about how to make overtime. But God said, no, you don't even need that. I'm just going to give you something that you don't have to worry about overtime. You just go to make money straight. You don't go nowhere. You stay in your home. And that's what's happening, because I give my time to God and make sacrifice to do some of these things. When I started, I look at myself and say, oh my God, every Thursday I have to do prayer meeting. Every Tuesday I have to do Bible study. Every Wednesday I have to do meet service. Every Sunday I have to preach. Since I started to now, non-stop is everyday thing for me. 3 years now, going to 3 years. I give God the glory because I make that sacrifice. So we have to make sacrifice in the things of God. It's not only outside activities. You see some people outside activities, they do it with all sacrifice, but when in terms of the things of God, it's very difficult for them to make sacrifice. So understand the power of sacrifice, what we are talking. There are things that we must let go if we want God to use us for his work. There's a lot of things people do. Some people on earth, they are gifted. God give them voice to sing. Some people, God give them different talent. Some people can beat drum. Some people can play castle. Some people can do different things. But have you let something go to let that come, that gift? We are on mission on this earth. We are on this earth for a purpose. We are not just on this earth because we are on this earth. There is a reason why God decided to put us here. We have to do our part. How many of us are given that time? You have to let something go to get that. Some people will work 7 days a week overtime. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they work. No time for the house of God, no time for Bible study, no time to meditate on his word, no time. You have to give. Even we as a woman of God, man of God, people of preacher of God, if you don't make time to meditate on the word of God, if you don't make time to read the word of God, if you don't make time, the vision will not come. What you really want from God, you will not get. Because you have to read the word, meditate on it. When you start doing these things, you will see God will open up to you. You start seeing vision. You start what you want. A lot of men of God that come on YouTube, that a lot of them are confessing how they get their power is because they don't have sacrifice. They didn't make sacrifice. It's because they do not have the time for